And we're going to see if the new headphones that I have on are going to work. So say something.
Salutations, everybody. I am the great Parafox Archangel, your Lord, your Savior, your God, as is common, and you should already all know by now.
Okay, maybe don't go that far. We are now starting the next trial. Well, kind of. We're gonna do trial another episode next instead of trial 5. So, I think I said this before in the director's commentary in Trial 5, as well as before in the other videos, but I really wanted to do something like Trial another episode as early as Trial 3, just because me hyperfixating on Hat in Time was just getting that annoying and boring that I just wanted to do something different. But I didn't go forward with it during Chapter 3 because it wouldn't have turned out good because I was still getting my bearings as a writer. It would have been a lot of self-indulgent nonsense at the time. Especially by comparison to now, which it already kind of is self-indulgent nonsense. But it's more, it's better written and more restrained than if I had done it when I was younger. Alright, so I also remember that this was the point in time where I started putting what song I was using in the UI at the top whenever it showed up. So that was what that was about.
Likely due to me asking all the time.
I don't think that was the case. I think it was just me wanting to do it because I was bored.
Fair enough, then.
We have to keep in mind that with these trials, I was getting very, very, very bored talking about Hat in Time all the time. Which is why Trial Another Episode happened. Oh god.
So you could talk about other series.
Yep. And then Cutting the Branches happened, and it had almost nothing to do with Hat in Time, except for that time that mustache girl made Carmelita her mom. It's still hilarious that happened. But,
what are we gonna do with you, Ruki?
We'll find out with the next project. Alright, so if you want context on the situation or view the character bios, you can. It's recommended that if you don't know who the character is, that you should probably know who they are and what they can do. Also, there are spoilers literally everywhere. Do not complain, you were warned in advance. Like, I think I've said this before and I'll say it again, I don't want to have to neuter my writing just so that people who haven't played the games aren't spoiled, because, like, bitch, these games have been out for how long now? If you don't know Aerith got stabbed in Final Fantasy VII, I'm sorry, but it is way too late for you to not know about that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Honestly.
And also, like, if I have to restrain myself, I can't use all the material I have to work with, and that makes me frustrated when I can't use all the tools at my disposal. And that also leads to, like, if I had to keep beating around the bush in CTB in regards to what the heck was going on with Gramble, instead of just flat out saying it, or not using those interesting bits because of the ending of Bug's Next being a major spoiler, he would not have turned out the way that he did. And things would not have been as interesting as they were, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I get that entirely. It's one of these things of, you're using the characters, like, kind of, for a lot of them, after their game is finished. So you have to basically use the entire character, otherwise it just becomes, why?
Yeah, it feels like you're using a cheap imitation of the character rather than the character if you're not using everything at the disposal in relation to them. I don't know how else to put it other than that. Either way, this trial also uses a lot of new mechanics and might be glitchy. Please inform me if something slipped past testing. This was the first trial where I used the new system where you have the Z, X, C keys and W to fire. This was the first one that did that. And that's what this meant, was that this was the very first one. Trial 6 was the second, and then I stuck with it for almost the entirety of CTB until I got sick of dealing with how annoying it was by Trial 5.
Fair enough.
I mean, the thing is glitchy and doesn't always work the way that's supposed to. If not programmed right, you wind up with the conversation looping in on itself twice, and then you have two people talking at different parts of the conversation. It's like, ugh, it's a pain. You haven't experienced that, so hopefully that means that I ironed that part out, but even still. What would you like to do? Let's go through the character bios. I'm hoping the number of people you know here is at least half, otherwise a lot of what's going on here might be difficult to get. Whose bio would you like to see? Right, had adults. Sorry, what?
In all fairness, I'm not sure if I knew half the characters when I was going into this.
I don't think you knew most any of them. To the point that...
But I think...
I remember when we got to Regina, it was like, made the dinosaurs extinct. Wow, I don't even know half these characters. Okay. Activating bio for Hat Adults. Yay! Our one character who has 7 lines of dialogue, because what am I supposed to do with her? Hat Adult, Ultimate Time Lord, debut appearance, the alpha build of Hat in Time. Hat Kid grown up, likes singing unlike her younger self. That is in reference to the Subcon Masked song. I think I showed you that one. It's the cut song about Vanessa and Moonjumper.
Yeah, I remember that.
Frequents the bookstore. The bookstore is where the credits take place in Alpha and Beta. Knows more about time now, exclusive to Alpha and Beta timelines. Unfortunately, info on her is scarce because of this.
It's strange how little information there is on this person compared to their younger self.
Oh yeah, this is when I started doing some voices.
I think you started doing voices as early as Chapter 5, when you voiced the detective guy, the sandworm, and the fish dude. It's just that we skipped that trial for now. Right, Naoto. Naoto Shirogane, the ultimate detective. She's a cop with blue hair. When do we get to the part where she kicks everybody for no reason?
I thought you were a recovering addict, my good man.
I am a recovering addict, but that doesn't mean I'm not relapsing all the time. Oh, this sucks. Anyways.
You must fight the urge. Do not let the Marge consume you.
Oh, no. The dark urge of Marge. Great, now I have that in my brain. Let's move on.
I mean, you already turned her into a fucking god.
Yeah, but I didn't want to turn her into a god of blood. Oh, no. Okay, I'm gonna have to sort that out later. In my own brain. Alright. Oh yeah, I forgot to read the skill set on that adult. Whoops. We'll deal with that later. So, Naoto is authorized to carry a gun and assist police investigations despite their youth. Yeah, they're a teenager. Is better at solving crime than the cops. Can summon a persona. Won a swimsuit pageant by not showing up. Naoto pulled a lot of weight in piecing together the culprit of the Ina Town murders and proved to be one of the more resourceful members of the Seekers of Truth. If I remember correctly, you didn't know she was a girl.
I'm not gonna lie, the moment you said she a moment ago, I was still like, wait, what?
That's actually one of the plot twists of Persona 4, is the fact that she is a girl instead of a boy. I think the voice could probably give it away depending on who you are. women tend to voice young boys anyway, so that's not too out there. I wasn't really surprised either way as to which one it would have been, but even still. But, yeah, in Persona 4, Naoto is your final party member, and she's the only one with a brain cell. Everyone else is idiots. I don't know how to put it nicely. They're all idiots, aside from, like, her. And aside from her and Kanji, they're also annoying assholes. Nanako, why are you hanging out with these people? You're too pure for this sinful group of jerks. Yeah, in Persona 4, it's common for the main plot, and when they're actually investigating stuff, is really solid. But every time that there's mandatory off time where they're just hanging out, they just are so awful to each other over and over again. And 90% of the time, it's the same joke. Yosuke does something perverted, the girls lash out at literally all the boys, even if the boys didn't do anything, it was just Yosuke, and then everything just sucks and the mood is soured. It's like, come on, does this have to be a running gag? Kanji didn't do anything. Teddy didn't do anything most of the time. And your main character probably didn't do anything. Yosuke is the only one that keeps pissing off the girls, and the girls keep retaliating against all the guys. It's like, why? This gets old after a while.
Because all men are the same.
Hold on, I think my headphones are... Okay, say that again?
Because all men are the same, apparently.
And that's kind of annoying. Okay, I think my headphone jack got loosened and the sound must have cut out for about a half a minute there while I was yapping. So
yeah, no, I heard like the Windows ding then for a second.
Sorry about that. Hopefully I didn't miss anything you said. I guess I'll find out in the recording.
Oh, no, it's fine. It's fine.
But yeah, so Naoto is one of the least infuriating characters in Persona 4, and I think by this point, Persona 4 and 5 were the only ones I had played. I had not played Persona 3 or 2 yet, and I still need to go through 1 at some point. You know, it's interesting I say I hadn't played Persona 3 by that point, despite the fact that I used Persona 3 music all the way back in the last chapter. So that's...
Hey, just because you use the music doesn't mean you play the game. There are plenty of game music I can appreciate, but I've never played that goddamn game.
I still feel like I should have actually played the game before I used the music from it. You know? I guess it's just one of those things. Right. Anyways, now to skill sets. Deduction, persona summoning, one-hit kill spells, light and darkness. Has a gun, element, neutral, AoE spells, strong physical attacks, persona abilities cost HP to use. So, I think they changed that in Persona 4 Golden so that she has different abilities, but the version of Persona I played, I bought the original Persona 4 for PS2. That's the version I wound up getting. So, she had instant kill spells and element neutral damage, which definitely made her very awkward to use. Because instant death spells, they don't do any damage. So, how do I say this?
Name a game they do.
Say again?
Name a game where they do.
In order to get through Persona battles easily, you need to hit elemental weaknesses more often than not. And that's kind of the awkward bit. She doesn't have any of those. She has instant death spells. And her only damaging attacks are element neutral. And they cost so much mana to use as a result. So...
You know, there's an irony about her being a girl in that circumstance.
What do you mean?
Because she's constantly screaming, "My man!"
I don't get the joke as to how exactly this relates to suits.
Because instant death.
The My Man spell in Suits is instant death. That's where you're going with this. Okay.
Yes.
She's a strong, independent detective who don't need no man. And really doesn't need to be a man, but hey, society.
My woman!
Is this your revenge for me spamming Marge jokes?
My man!
Moving on, this is getting weird. Alright, let's see how adult skill set since I forgot to go over that. Super intense walking action, I forgot. Okay, I'll explain that later. Presumably Hacket's ability is stronger, slightly better control of timepieces. Okay, intense walking action. When you actually played as Hat Adult in the Alpha and Beta, all you could do was walk. That's literally all you could do. You couldn't even jump.
I mean, didn't she only appear for, like, the very last sequence or something?
Yes.
So it was more of a credit sequence for her, so anyway.
Yeah. Even still, that's not a whole lot to work with, is it? Alright. Bio 3. Sir Daniel Fortescue from Medieval. Alright, so let's go over skills while I'm still thinking about it. Extremely tough to kill. I mean, he did get shot in the eye.
I mean, he is a skeleton
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Hacking and slashing. He is from a hack and slash game. Archery, lightning magic, healing lightning magic. The healing lightning magic is pretty specific, but it's still something worth mentioning. In Medieval 1, you're given the green lightning to keep your army alive when fighting against the evil wizard and his skeleton army. But in Medieval 2, you have a rescue mission where you have to save Princess Kia, the mummy lady, and the green lightning is to keep her alive from Jack the Ripper. So, that's an interesting thing to talk about.
Okay.
It makes sense in context. It makes sense in context. The first game took place in, like, the 13th century. The next game took place about 500 years later.
Oh, okay, yeah, that does make more sense then.
Yeah. Medieval 2 took place in, like, closer to modern Britain, but not exactly modern Britain.
Fair enough then.
I mean, Daniel is a skeleton, so he went back to being dead, and then some evil wizard resurrected the dead again, so he came back to life. So...
Oh, I can't get a break.
Yeah, he kind of can't, considering how considering how that happened. Anyways, moving on. Gun experience. Oh, no, okay. I have to mention the Gatling gun. I have to mention the fact he gets a Gatling gun. It is the best weapon, one of the best weapons in the game. Just imagine him with a Gatling gun.
I mean, of course it's one of the best weapons in the game. It's a goddamn Gatling gun!
Why does he have a Gatling gun? Moving on. Can make an axe return like a boomerang. Yeah, that's one that the axe operates kind of like a boomerang. Head is detachable, can be used to look at hard to get areas. That is a puzzle solving mechanic in the second game. I don't think it applied to the first game. Pro boxer. I don't know why that boss fight happened, but whatever. I don't know why that happened. Moving on. Chicken wings. Chicken wings is an optional item in both games, and it can turn large groups of enemies into chicken. Just by throwing the chicken wing grenade to turn them into it. It's a very good way of getting rid of a lot of really annoying enemies. Unfortunately...
That sounds like a Ratchet and Clank weapon.
It does, doesn't it? It sounds like the Morpho Ray. It sounds like a weird version of the Morpho Ray, like if you combined one of the grenade glove things and the Morpho Ray together to make bombs that turn people into chickens. That sounds like a Ratchet and Clank weapon, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well and truly.
And then we get to beat the chickens to death with a wrench. Don't lie, you did it yourself.
I mean, absolutely every single time. You can't let them live. What happens if they transform back?
I mean, they explode eventually, so... Oh god, moving on. We're never gonna get through the bios at this rate. Alright, shot in the eye several centuries ago and died, frequently survived by wizard magic. Proved his heroism and went to the Hall of Heroes. Also got a mummy girlfriend to make out with. Ew. Yeah, we didn't need to see that, but sure, whatever. I mean, I don't know how that works. He doesn't have a jaw. I don't know how they made out in front of everybody. But whatever. Moving on. The first time he was resurrected by accident, he stopped them from taking over Galamir in the year 1386, proving himself a hero and rightfully earning the title on his own terms. The second time was similar, but in London of 1886, with a different sorcerer, and he had backup in a time machine that time.
Why is chicken wings listed as a skill?
It makes sense in context. Activating bio for Katie Forrester from Yokai Watch. Alright, so... can summon yokai so long as she has their medals on hand. Can become a B-rank heal yokai from the Charming Tribe. Okay, so Nate and Katie. They are the main characters of Yokai Watch. Both of them have their own yokai form, though I don't remember exactly how that happened. And in Nate's case, he became like a C-rank yokai whose inspiriting abilities is to make you average as all hell. Whereas Katie's was, I think it was increased energy. Either way, she wound up being a healer yokai. B rank. Alright.
Fair enough.
Equipped with a blaster that can knock down enemy health bars by a large amount requires much. That's a mechanic from the third game. Spectral and regular fancy smack people, pretty sure that was from Yokai Watch 4, which had Shadowside characters in it. Makes friends fairly easily, can use Miradox to time travel. That's a reference to the second game. As you can probably see, a lot of these guys have time travel capabilities. That's one of the things that factored into who I had show up here. There's 4 factors that were taken into consideration as for which characters I'm putting in here, and 2 of them were related to Danganronpa, but 2 of them were related to Hat in Time. For Hat in Time, the criteria was, are they from a platformer, and do they have a time machine or time travel abilities? For Danganronpa, it's, do they cross over with Danganronpa, or are these characters Japanese?
Fair enough, then.
Basically, I was trying to find some way to link these things in a way that made sense. Naoto does not have a time machine, nor is she from a platformer, and Persona does not cross over with Danganronpa, but she is a Japanese girl, and Danganronpa is very Japanese. And for Katie here, she is Japanese as well, and she's able to time travel. However, Yokai Watch is an RPG, not a platformer, and Yokai Watch has not crossed over with Danganronpa.
So, 2 out of 4.
Yeah.
So better than Naruto.
Yeah. So, possesses a special watch that allows the user to befriend and see what normally cannot. Watch is not of the wristwatch variety. Yeah, her watch has always been like this medallion thing that she hangs around her neck. Whether the watch belonged to her or Nate varies. Nate has a different watch from hers. Hers is a pink medallion one. His is a white wristwatch.
I like her. Always take the pocket watch. It's a lot cooler.
It definitely hers definitely looks a lot more unique by comparison to the wristwatch. And it definitely works as a better accessory than the other one, which looks kind of bland to me, but eh.
It's why you always choose a pocket watch. They look amazing.
She has a medal for herself called Me Too. Me Too is basically what her yokai form is called. I don't remember what Nate's is. Whatever, moving on. She can use that to become a yokai, though the circumstances of how she got involved confusing multiverse stuff. Yeah, I remember that from 3, but I don't remember the specifics. With the help of her new weird friends, they all managed to prevent several very powerful yokai from destroying and or taking over both yokai and human worlds.
I don't need to look up the rest. I already know.
Cadence. Cadence is the one that died this trial, kind of.
Ah, I know her.
I think I remember saying... Did I say before that I also tried modding Crypt of the Necrodancer?
I think you've mentioned it in passing.
Yeah, I tried making a mod for that one, and no one really cared for the mod that I made. I might have shown you it before. Just in...
Yeah, it's the way mods can work. Sometimes some get fall between the cracks, and sometimes they blow up for no reason.
Yeah, I guess it is what it is.
And sometimes you can make one, it gets completely ignored, and then a year later, someone makes the complete exact same thing, and then it blows up.
That's always annoying. It's always a case of you gotta just time it right and hope and pray.
I mean, that depends on what you're making the mod for. If you're making the mod for yourself and then you're just posting it on the workshop or the modding center, whatever you're using, because why not? So let other people benefit from it as well, then you don't need to really worry that much. You should honestly make the mod because, you want it for yourself as much as anything.
Yeah, but it still feels disheartening when you put more work into it than people around you. Like, how do I say it? There were other mods where they only reskinned one character to look like one single thing from a monster catching game, and that blew up much more than when I tried doing it with all of the characters and several of the other assets. It wound up being disheartening. And I know why it happened. I know Pokemon is always going to be a million times more popular than anything I like. But still. Either way, I already posted what it was that I did, so... Alright, should I continue, or...?
Yeah, absolutely.
Alright, Cadence. Excellent throwing knife skill. Experience with magic, digging, and various melee weapons ranging from spears to broadswords. Good sense of rhythm, good at dancing. Can play the lute effectively. Good at finding survival equipment and supplies. Yeah, Crypt of the Necrodancer is kind of like a roguelike, I guess, since the dungeon is randomized all the time.
I mean, it's not like a roguelike, it is a roguelike.
And I apparently hate roguelikes. Which is probably why I don't play Crypt of the Necrodancer much at all. Anyways. Cadence, she is the ultimate dancer. Girl who ventured through catacombs to find and rescue her father. Probably died in the process after falling into said catacombs. If I'm reading the room correctly, she wound up falling to her death in the opening cutscene, and the only reason she is alive is because of the golden loot keeping everything in the crypt alive.
So in other words, doomed to eternity to continuously dance and never rescue the father anyway.
Again, if I'm reading the room correctly, and also she saves her father at the end of her chapter before we move on to the second of the 3 chapters where they use the golden loot to revive her mom, and then you're playing as her mom for the second chapter.
Fair enough, then.
I don't know, I'm not looking up the Crypt of the Necrodancer lore, I don't care that much.
Yeah, fair.
This isn't a game.
Fair enough.
This is not a game I'm super duper into, honestly. Like I said, roguelikes, not my thing. Cadence is an adventurer who sought nothing more than the whereabouts of her missing father. After the search yielded fruitful results, she discovered the truth of the mysterious golden loot and its double-edged healing factor. Basically, you have to keep playing, otherwise you die, but if you keep playing, it kind of strips you of humanity slowly over time.
Fair enough.
To survive the catacombs, it's always a good idea to come with survival equipment. She likely survived the fallen catacombs due to the necrodancer's power over the aforementioned golden loot. As I just mentioned, she probably actually died down there in the fall and is just alive because of the golden loot, but you get what I mean.
A musical
Yeah.
instrument that can heal wounds. What was the catch?
I think I just explained what the catch was, and I just spam clicked. Whoopsie. Alright. Activating bio for you-know-who. Alright, skills. Piano, debate, leadership, athletics, high intellect, romantic, thinking long-term, secretly murdering people, hacking the game, breaking the fourth wall, and poetry. I love your reaction to this, because when you got to secretly murdering people, you just started laughing. It's like, thinking in the long term, secretly murdering people. I mean, it is kind of whiplash from the other ones.
Yeah, no, it's complete whiplash from the other ones, just from like standard RPG character, standard RPG character, standard a roguelike character, just Monica.
I meant her skill set more so than her character, because we went from piano, debate, leadership to secretly murdering people. But I guess that's true too. Alright, anyways. Ultimate Debater. If I remember correctly, she was either the president of the debate club or one of its core members before leaving and starting the literature club. I don't remember anymore. It's been a while. And I'm not sure if I got it right in this description anyway. Current president of the literature club. Loves poetry, art, music, social interaction, and not being stuck in the computer. A self-aware video game character stuck in a Dangson visual novel, Monica started tampering with the code in an attempt to escape the reality of the world around her not being real. The end result was a lot of dead girls and a noticeable lack of romance. Despite this, she has a lot of insight and advice that would actually sound solid if it wasn't because she lost it and basically killed everyone.
A video game character? What's happening right now that a video game character is here talking to everyone? This isn't a virtual world, is it?
Alright, Sans. Ultimate Comedian, debut appearance, Undertale. Skills, lasers... Did you say something?
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought I heard something. Right. Skills, lasers, bones, teleportation, sensing level of violence, dodging, first strike, near impossible to kill, knowledge of alternate timelines, scientific background, bad puns, and comedy. As you can probably tell, most of those skills are from the boss fight. I probably focused on that a little too much.
Hey, the last two... I think the last two relate to you very well.
Wait, to me or to Sans?
To you.
Bad puns and comedy. I feel like my bad puns aren't that common by comparison to the comedy.
At this point, I think you could make Marge a bad pun.
I mean, I did make the margarine joke, didn't I?
Yep. Yes. Margarine.
Alright, moving on.
How many Marge posters on game covers did you make?
I think at least 5. There's Grand Theft Maggie. There was Marge of Honor. Dance Dance Revolution Margio Mix. Marge Gear Rising Revengeance. And... I think that might have been it, actually. I don't remember anymore.
Bad puns. So many.
Well, thanks for indulging the Marge relapse. Alright, made almost entirely of funny bones, is secretly into science. The humor hides a lot. Alright. Do I need to go over Sans? I think we all know who Sans is.
It depends on whether you want to read the description you wrote about him.
Nope. Moving on. I want to talk about Coco Yes noises instead.
I think this is another one of those addictions you need to recover from. listen to the man. He can't even breathe because he finds it so funny. He needs a goddamn therapist to get over these things. Coco yes noises, Marge jokes. So we need to get this man some help.
The bad part is that joke might come back at some point in instance, and just because Trance is in there, which means I might throw it at him just to annoy the hell out of him. After all, I did say Coco Bandicoot, yes noises, is the equivalent of croaking puberty.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
I feel like for any future project, we need to give you the same rule on Coco yes noises as, like, movies get with the Wilhelm scream, in that you're only allowed one.
Kind of like how Kingdom Hearts had Disney demand Kingdom Hearts only use Mickey one single time.
Yeah, I could believe that.
Yeah, that was a very weird decision from Disney to have Mickey only show up once, but whatever. It'll definitely be interesting when we finally get to see, when we finally get to a Goofy movie, and Max's dad is just there, running around with a shield. I feel like I have a point there, even though... Moving on. Okay, skills. Computer and hacking expertise. Spin kicking. Able to operate multiple vehicle types. Go-karting pro. Invented a teleportation device for crystal gathering. Went slightly insane at Von Clutch's Motor World and had too much fun destroying everything. AKA the yes noises joke. Surprisingly strong. I will never let her live that one down.
No, you clearly won't. It's why I'd say we need to cap you out on how many times you're allowed to use that sound effect.
You have to admit, it did lead to some very hilarious moments.
Oh, absolutely it did. But we're turning it into your Wilhelm scream. You get one.
Alright, moving on. Brainy sister to the renowned Crash Bandicoot, tech genius extraordinaire, can sometimes be just as mischievous as her older brother. Coco has frequently been on her brother's side in adventures since Tana may or may not have dumped him. The only clue we got about that was a manga for Crash 2, so canon is uncertain. Yeah, I think I mentioned that before, that we have no idea what the heck happened there. Tana just kind of went MIA for a very long time. And I think this was before the Insane Trilogy came out.
Because they don't even really explain it in the remake either, I believe, because the Tanya of the second game is randomly comes from another timeline or something.
Tana from It's About Time, I think is what you're talking about, right? Crash It's About Time, the new one. Yeah, that one came from a completely different timeline that didn't really have anything to do with the current characters. And the only comment we got as to the current relation with Tana is that they just kind of vaguely fell out of touch.
Which is a little weird.
It's weird, especially considering that Tana is Crash's girlfriend that he went off to save in the first game, but that was kind of his primary motivation, was to go back, kick Cortex's butt, and save her. Yet she kind of vanished. From a game development standpoint, we know why Tana left. It was because the Universal executives demanded that she be changed, and Naughty Dog just wound up removing her instead and replacing her with Coco.
Why did they want her changed?
It's because Tana was too damn sexy. She was modeled after Pamela Anderson. They wanted that toned down, and Naughty Dog basically flipped them off and made Coco instead.
I mean, fair enough then.
Right, her first major adventure was when the Time Twister machine was used to gather... Okay, that's a spelling error. Oh well, too late now. Gather crystals from all eras by mad scientists trying to blow up the planet or something. Her first gameplay appearance, her first gameplay adventure where she was playable was Crash 3. Her inventions for teleporting to where crystals are, hacking into Cortex's comm systems, and decked out cars with giant electro-sticky monster prove her extremely talented and resourceful.
It would be smart to hurt her, considering she's keeping the air purifier going.
Oh yeah, I forgot. The context is that we're all stuck in Danganronpa 1's building, which is probably decrepit by this point.
Yeah.
Alright, moving on. Who's ready for outdated references? Alright. I think the Gex trilogy is getting a remake soon. Not a remake, a not a remaster either. It's like a port, I think. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I think I heard about that. Yeah, it is. It's actually on Steam as well.
Yeah, it's coming out in like a month. I generally don't get those kinds of games because I already have the original. Why bother? But I might get this one. I don't know. I'll see. I generally have a stance of if I already have the game, I don't need a different version of the exact same game. That's my stance, especially since I just don't like feeding into the remaster or remake thing when I'd really rather just get a new game. But Gex has been dead for so long that... You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Gex's feels like one of those games which was like PS1 era, wasn't it?
It lived in the PS1 era, it died in the PS1 era.
Exactly, so that's literal decades ago.
Yep. That would
In
have...
terms of how old it is, so...
That would have definitely been over 25 years ago. So, yeah, I want Gex to come back, and I want them to stay back. If I'm gonna be honest, I'm a kind of tired of how gaming is nowadays, where everything is just too damn serious all the time. I don't know how to explain it, other than the PS1 era had an edge, but it didn't feel edgy. Does that make sense?
No, I get that. It's a case of we don't have any of the silly cartoon humor sort of games either anymore, because that's like Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper, Gex,
Jak and Daxter, kind of.
Well, the first one at least.
Yeah, Jak and Daxter 1 was kind of the cartoony fun one. 2 and after kind of dipped its toes into the pool of edge.
Granted, I still love them as brilliant as games, but it's like one of those, you kind of have to play them separately, with a separate mindset kind of thing.
Exactly. It's so hard for me to enjoy Jak 2 Renegade just because it's not the first one, and the first one is the one I grew up with and I loved. It's so hard. You know?
I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed the second one, I adored the third one. The third one I absolutely loved, just because of the fact the city was in the middle of the Civil War, and I loved fighting on the front lines.
For me, it's a case of I played Jak 1 and 2 and haven't gotten around to any of the ones afterwards. I do have Jak 3 as well as the Daxter PSP game. I just never got around to actually playing either of them yet. But, like, that transition from 1 to 2, I had to try very, very, very hard to not compare the two, just because I preferred one over the other by that much of an amount. And it's hard not to compare them because they're both from the same series. You know? It's kind of why, and I said this before, it's kind of why I have similar issues trying to get into the future saga of Ratchet & Clank, because the future saga of Ratchet & Clank is great on its own. The PS2 era of Ratchet & Clank is also great on its own, but they have two very different messages and tones. PS2 Ratchet & Clank was very cynical and anti-capitalism, because capitalism keeps ruining everything. Future Saga was more fantastical and had it had higher stakes and more fantastical elements into it by comparison to the PS2 era, which tended to be weird but still grounded enough. Like, the difference between the two is, in the PS2 era Ratchet & Clank games, you would have Ratchet get thrown into death matches for TV entertainment, whereas in Future Saga, you'd wind up in a time travel plot against pirates or something. You see what I mean?
Yeah, a bit.
Both games and what they're trying to do, perfectly fine and serviceable and enjoyable, but Future Saga has PS2 as the basis of who these characters are and what they've been through, and it's hard to disassociate the two and look at both of them for what their strengths are as a result, because they are just that different in that regard, if that makes sense.
Honestly, I don't think you're meant to separate them, because it is like the...
Of course you're not. Of course you're not supposed to separate them. If you separate them, then what's Ratchet & Clank's backstory in regards to the Future Saga? You can't separate them because they already have an established backstory. But that established backstory is from a completely different era with a completely different tone and intention by comparison to the current era.
You could argue it kind of shows how the character has evolved as well, so...
I hear that argument a lot, but character development only goes so far when the entire tone of the narrative winds up changing.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I noticed the difference in tone. Maybe back when I played it, it was one of those I was too young to understand a difference in tone or whatever, but...
I kind of noticed the minute I played Crack in Time, because, like, the tone is always kind of a bit somber and not quite as humorous in that one by comparison to the previous ones from the PS2 era that I had played. But it's not like it isn't funny. It is still trying to be funny, but it's a different kind of funny, and it doesn't make the same kind... It's hard to explain. It's something you can see and you can feel, but you can't describe easily. Like, I know you like that joke where Ratchet gets knocked out with gas, and then Clank makes a joke that it doesn't work on robots and then gets punched in the face.
Classic.
I know you love that joke, but that's not the type of joke I associate with PS2 Ratchet & Clank. I associate PS2 Ratchet & Clank humor with, like, snarky quips and more edgy type of humor, like when PS2 Ratchet & Clank was more likely to make sexual innuendos and jokes like that by comparison to later. It's not easy... I can't describe it. It's so hard to explain. It's something I can see, and I can't freaking say it correctly.
I mean, if you want an example of the sexual innuendos of Ratchet and Clank...
We just need to look at the title cards. I already know that.
Yeah, just look at the titles of the goddamn games.
I mean, Rift Apart doesn't exactly sound sexual, but then again, we had Into the Nexus, which was supposed to be called Into the Nether Regions. So, there's that. We got on this entire tangent about Ratchet and Clank, and we're completely ignoring Gex right now.
Well, aren't we? Yeah.
Sorry, Gex. Debatably the most outdated person here, somehow more so than the centuries-old skeleton from Gallowmere. Will likely spew out references left and right. The only person here who's potentially more outdated than him is that annoying hippie Max Caulfield from Life is Strange. I don't know why her dialogue is so hippie. Like, what does Ready for the Mosh Pit Shaka Bra even mean? What a shocker.
I haven't a clue.
I don't think I want to know, because that sounds dumb. Moving on. Moving on from the teenage hippies. Gex has an...
Don't worry, one day we'll go through the mod.
How long have we taken by this point? An hour? And we're not even through the bios yet? Let me check the recording, actually.
Yeah, that's it. It's been an hour. Approximately.
Okay, according to the recording, 50 minutes. So, yeah, we have not even started the trial. We're still yapping about... Oh, no.
Complete other distractions!
I mean, at this point, I think everyone knows that they're just kind of along for the ride of us yapping about whatever we feel like. Which is probably more entertaining than the mod itself at this point.
This feels more like a podcast than a video.
Well, at least it's a video on demand so people can see it whenever they want. Because with podcasts and streams, they vanish eventually, and I can't find them afterwards.
Do podcasts? I don't know. I admit I've never really listened to them, so I don't know how they work properly.
I mean, I haven't listened to podcasts either, I'm just guessing. But based on how podcasts are, I would assume that they're similar to streams. I don't know for sure, I'm just taking a guess here.
We are completely ignorant on the subject.
Yep. Sorry about that if I accidentally spread misinformation. I do not like it when I do that. Moving forward to actual correct information, we are about to go over Gex's unnecessarily dramatic and sad backstory. I don't know why they went with this. Okay. Gex has an addiction to all things television after his father passed away following an acid rocket explosion. He bottled up his emotions and sat in front of the TV, pretty much never leaving it, to the point where his mother's only option to make him get away from it was to sell it to gypsies.
No way that can be healthy.
Eventually, after Rez grabbed him through his own TV set he bought with inheritance money from his dead uncle, which is how he afforded his Hawaiian mansion, Gex was sent into TV himself to meet Rez and returned home. Since then, he was recruited by the government to work as a TV operative alongside Agent Extra, preventing major TV-related crimes.
What did I just read?
Yeah, no, I agree myself. What did we just read?
That was Gex's backstory from the manual of the first game. Which I don't think most people are aware of, because most people played the second game, Enter the Gecko. So, for some reason, Gex has a very weirdly depressing backstory that you only find out from the manual. And that was it. That was it. The actual in-game cutscene does not go over what his backstory is. He just sits in front of the TV and gets yanked into the television.
It's always... That's another thing they did back in the old days. You always had the lore of the game in the manual, in the actual game itself.
Yeah. It was always weird how they did that, because it's like... I mean, I liked reading the manual and finding out that extra stuff, but even still, like... Interesting how they kept all that stuff in the manual and didn't put it in the game itself. I'm guessing because there was an FMV budget or something.
Maybe, probably.
Who knows? I think the only games that didn't do stuff like that would have been, like, Final Fantasy type games, because Final Fantasy games are very story heavy, so they wouldn't have to put that in the stuff in the manual. Alright, Max Caulfield, time to feel older. Alright, Max Caulfield, ultimate photographer of useless crap. I'm sticking by that incredibly rude assessment. Max Caulfield...
Poor woman.
Say that again.
No credit at all to the poor woman.
She takes... The photos that she takes are never important. Aside from, like, maybe 1 or 2 instances. She's not taking photos of crime scenes. She's not taking photos of evidence. She's taking photos of a bird sitting in a nest for her Instagram. Why?
I mean, why not? Appreciate nature.
Now, the point is that she could have used her camera as a piece of story and gameplay integration as a means of her taking photos of evidence to help advance the story, and instead, the camera only really serves to be A, a part of her personality, and B, a gameplay aspect for collectibles, because taking photos of things like birds in a nest or something is basically the in-game collectible of Life is Strange. It doesn't really factor into the actual gameplay, which is the important bit. Or the actual story, which is the important bit. Which is why I say, ultimate photographer of useless crap.
Appreciate nature.
I'll appreciate nature when it stops trying to kill me. Alright, Max's skills. I completely forgot to go over Gex's skills, didn't I? We'll go over that later.
I am unsure.
Alright, skills, photography, time rewinding for no apparent reason, saying the right thing at the right moment, because there's not much she can do. She can drive. Amateur sleuthing. Tied with Gex and outdatedness, honestly I'd argue she's even more outdated than he is. Has magical time warp powers that she is now afraid to use. Takes pictures of birds and trees and other crap to stop her when tracking down a serial killer. Smooth. She can rewind time by a few minutes or seconds at a time to gather information or correct mistakes. Unfortunately, this proved to be disastrous as her use of this tool results in a tiny firefly creating a devastating hurricane that can level an entire town.
Rewinding by only a few seconds multiple times caused a tornado? You'd think some of these other people would have caused worse for rewinding multiple decades or centuries.
Yeah.
She
got the low end. She really got the low end of the stick by getting the crap powers like that, didn't she?
She got the power to rewind time by 5 seconds and it blows up the planet. Whereas everyone else winds up having time rewinding powers that span multiple decades and nothing happens. Alright, let's see. Skills, action movie, kung fu, tail whipping, power-ups from eating flies, remote control beam, high jumping, costume-based gliding, and outdated references. Alright, next up, Regina from Dino Crisis. Alright, so... Skills, immense amount of handgun, rocket launcher, machine gun experience, electricity emitting stun gun, fast reflexes, made the dinosaurs extinct, highly intelligent in chemistry, technology, and several other fields, can make tranquilizers and deadly poisons. Right,
so someone actually threatening.
Yay, Regina is scary. I think I made this joke before off camera, and I'm gonna make it again now that we're on camera. What do you think the odds are of her killing off all the Krogan?
Honestly, she has a shot, but I'm not sure if I would actually say Krogan are weaker than dinosaurs.
They probably aren't, but even still, there's a joke here.
Yeah.
Oh no, anyways. Member of the Secret Operation Raid Team is basically a tank in human form to her massive arsenal of automatic rifles, is almost solely responsible for the dinosaurs going extinct. Hey, that rocket launcher's not going to buy itself. Yeah, in Dino Crisis 2, you get points for killing everything. And if you rack up a high enough combo and don't take damage, you get a lot of bonus points. So if you get a lot of bonus points and stuff, you can buy that rocket launcher and blow up everything, and it's very satisfying. Though, for the most part, you really just need the heavy machine gun and you're set for most of the game. But still fun, using that rocket launcher to blow up those annoying pterodactyls and shoot them into the water. They are so annoying. They fly all over the place and they're so hard to hit.
I was about to say, that sounds like personal experience you're speaking from right there.
The pterodactyls suck because they fly around all over the place and are up in the air. Keep in mind, we're talking about Resident Evil tank controls. An aerial enemy in that context of classic tank control Resident Evil is going to be hard to hit, especially if they are zipping around in circles around you. So it's going to be a lot harder to hit them. The best weapons for them is the rocket launcher that Regina has, since the missiles lock in onto the enemies, and the submachine gun because they she has 2 of them. She directs them at 2 different enemies if she can, and the counter system exists, where if she shoots the enemy and hits them at the right time, it stuns them out of attacking her. So that makes the dual submachine guns extremely effective at keeping her safe from enemies that are trying to kill her just by automatically countering just because of how high the fire rate on the things are.
It sounds like one of those balance mechanics that they didn't really think about at the time.
Yeah, Regina is busted. All of her weapons are good. All of her weapons are good. She
back in the era where we didn't bother thinking about the proper balance and ramifications of our weapons as developers.
I mean, let's be honest here. Being busted as crap with Regina is incredibly satisfying. It's hard not to feel the satisfaction of just running through a room of dinosaurs and just mowing everything down. And then moving on to the next jungle hallway to mow down more dinosaurs. So yeah, Regina is busted. All of her weapons are good. The heavy machine gun takes out just about everything in a couple of hits. Her rocket launcher is super satisfying and homes in on enemies. And her dual submachine guns is a very effective way at shooting at multiple targets at once. It's so satisfying playing as Regina. Dylan, not so much. He has a lot of good weapons, but they're a lot more situational by comparison. Since his weapons is an anti-tank rifle, which is very useful against a lot of enemies, because it's an anti-tank rifle, so it pierces. But it suffers from the problem of... Actually, I think it's actually pretty solid. The ion cannon is cool, but all it does is put an energy ball right in front of you, so it's more of a defensive item than a full-on attack item, since it just puts that energy ball right in front of you. But the flamethrower already kind of does that too, so what's the point? And both of them have access to the flamethrower. And Dylan's rocket launcher is flat-out terrible because it doesn't home in on enemies. So you can wind up buying the rocket launcher, which will kill anything in one hit, but good luck actually hitting anything with it because the missile is very likely to miss. The only thing it's really good for is the final boss, since the final boss is gigantic. And it's the only thing that actually stuns it out of hitting you.
I mean, fair enough.
Alright, I need to stop going on random tangents about games I like, but also I don't have anyone to talk to about this stuff. Moving on. Regina is frequently sent on missions to gather data on third energy, a time-altering energy that can cause ripples in time, basically transporting cities to 7 million BC if used improperly. These missions came up as a result of exactly that. With this came big scaly problems that Regina had to shoot down in order to secure the data, rescue her teammates, and not die. Her skills improved considerably at the time Edward City got overrun by dinosaurs, and she can kill dinosaurs with only 2 to 3 bullets instead of an entire clip. Getting on her bad side can be a death sentence. She still needs to fulfill her promise of saving Dylan from getting killed millions of years in the future. Yeah, that's a cliffhanger that never got resolved because Dino Crisis died with the third game, and the third game had nothing to do with that. Yeah, so 2 to 3 bullets versus an entire clip. Dino Crisis 1 versus 2. So far, I've been talking about Dino Crisis 2 in terms of Regina's power level. Dino Crisis 1 is more like Resident Evil in that you are way less powerful. In 2, you get to mow down everything. In 1, everything mows down you so long as it gets close. So that's the main difference between the two games, and it's very noticeable.
So she went from being the one-woman army to crap.
She went from having the combat prowess of Jill Valentine in Resident Evil 1 to being a one-woman army. Because we were talking about Dino Crisis 1 where she has to waste an entire clip just to take down one single Velociraptor versus the second game where it only takes 2 to 3 bullets from a pistol to take down a Velociraptor. So she went from being an action survivor to extinction.
Is it actually canonical that she was single-handedly the reason for making the dinosaurs extinct? Or is that just your statement?
That's my statement. It's me making a joke. I mean, she did blow up a T-Rex with C4. But even still.
I mean, how else are you meant to blow it up?
I mean, Dylan did use a kill satellite laser thing and made a giant hole in the floor the size of a building where it was standing. So that's also an option.
Okay.
Once again, we're talking about the second game, where things were a lot more chaotic.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this seems like this absolute chaos era of games.
Moving on, we're never gonna get to the trial at this rate.
Well, that's not terrifying in the slightest.
Regina is scary and she kills lizards all the time. Maybe she can make Gex shut his mouth. Alright, Raiden/Jack from Metal Gear Solid. Alright, Ultimate Streak. Forgot I put that in there. Okay, so...
Give the man a break, Rookie. Give the man a break.
In the Metal Gear Solid 2 VR missions, there's 7 different things that you can play as. There's 3 Raiden costumes you can use and 4 Snake ones. There's regular Raiden, Ninja Raiden, and Raiden X. Raiden X is him naked, and there's only one mode in that one, and it's streaking mode instead of sneaking mode. That's where Ultimate Streaker came from.
Okay. Sure.
The game over music for if you get caught in that mode even changes to a police siren, as if you just got arrested for streaking, instead of the usual game over music. Moving on! Immense amount of handgun, rocket launcher, grenade, C4, sniper rifle, hand-to-hand, and RC missile training experience. Acrobatic and agile, strong swimmer, has dumb wigs for infinite ammo, breathing underwater and hanging off ledges. Those are unlockable if you get enough dog tags. Enough sword training to deflect bullets, naked cartwheel flips. Killed a bunch of ninjas with swords and guns butt naked with cartwheel flips. Kind of, but we're not going over that right now. We've already sidetracked enough. Took out around 20 or so. We've sidetracked enough.
We're never gonna get to
We're never gonna get to the trial because I want to talk about video games because no one ever wants to hear what I have to say. Took out around 20 or so Metal Gear units solo with chaff grenades and stinger missiles. I actually did not know chaff grenades stunned the Metal Gear units, so thank you, YouTube, for telling me that. Failed to overthrow Big Boss in Operation Snake Eraser. That is one of the dumb things from Metal Gear Solid 3. Let's move on from that, though. And could not secure the position of main character. Okay, it was a gag segment from Metal Gear Solid 3's theater mode. Basically, there were a bunch of funny gag things that they wound up animating and voice acting using the characters of Metal Gear Solid 3. However, the last one was a special one where they specially put Raiden in so that he could try and become the main character of Metal Gear Solid 4 by getting rid of Big Boss and securing his position as main character in the timeline by getting rid of Snake. It was a joke segment.
Okay.
It's not canon, it doesn't make sense, but even still, it's funny. Also, he got ran over by a tank and didn't die. That Snake Eraser thing was basically just them crapping on Raiden over and over and over again. And just beating the crap out of him just because everyone hated him at the time. Poor Raiden.
Poor guy.
I never understood the hate for Raiden, honestly. Like, I know people didn't like him at the time, but we are well past the point where the false advertising is a thing. We all know Raiden is the main character in Metal Gear Solid 2. I think it's time we moved on. Because that's the main reason everyone hated Raiden, was because he wasn't Snake, and Snake was the advertised main character. I think I said this to you multiple times when going over Kaede and Shuichi from Danganronpa.
Oh yeah, no, I know that all too well.
Right. Anyways, expert in tactical espionage skateboarding. Oh no. There's so much here that I crammed in that I feel like I have to explain. Metal Gear Solid 2 had Substance version, had the skateboarding mode added. Jack was in the battlefield as early as childhood and has a lot of experience in training for combat and stealth ops due to both this and VR training. He managed to infiltrate the big shell, secure weapons for various threats, and complete his mission. He may not be a legendary Solid Snake, but got the job done and killed a lot of crap in the process. He constantly gets used, lied to, and betrayed by absolutely everyone. He also dealt with escorting Emma Emmerich, aka Whiny McDrouse. What? Emma is afraid of water, and she whines so much. Through an underwater escort mission, he's been through pure heck. Can you imagine an underwater escort mission? Those are like the two things everyone hates in gaming.
Yeah, no. The moment I heard that, it was just, I could just feel myself just crawl into like, ugh, no.
It's actually not that bad, if you ask me. I know a lot of people might hate me for saying that, but I honestly don't think that the underwater part was actually that bad. Though, escorting her is a bit pretty tedious because of how slow she is. You have to hold her hand and basically drag her across the floor. It is that slow.
Oh, she's a little baby.
She's a very whiny baby.
And I thought I was treated like a punching bag.
That's a pretty good description of Raiden's life. Treated like a punching bag. And then we got to Metal Gear Solid 4, which pretty much undid his happy ending, so he never even got to enjoy that. Oh well. Activating Bio for Yumi from Ape Escape. Sayaka, the ultimate pop sensation. Debut appearance, Ape Escape 3. Singing, dancing, monkey catching, knighthood, sharpshooting, ninjutsu, kung fu, lasers, flying, tougher than obsidian, stealth, actually catching them all. Most of those are her morphs.
Whenever it involves the Ape Escape, I already know there's gonna be a little bit of favoritism because you like it so.
It is my favorite series. Unfortunately, half the games are landlocked to Japan, but what can you do?
How is that not? How's that? In what way are they landlocked?
So, about 6 or 7 of the games we managed to get here in the States, and some of them over there in Europe as well. Like, if I remember correctly, you guys got Ape Academy 2, whereas we got Pumped and Primed, and both of us got Ape Escapes 1, 2, and 3. But games like the Ape Escape racing game for PSP, and Ape Escape Million Monkeys for PS2, and Ape Escape 2001, those were all stuck in Japan. We never got them.
Oh.
So I had to play Ape Escape Million Monkeys with my PS2. I had to do a weird trick just to get it to let me play Ape Escape Million Monkeys using the PS2. It was very awkward trying to figure that out 8 years ago. I actually looked up recently how old that tutorial I made in relation to finding the Pokepee was in that game. Apparently that was 8 or 9 years ago. So that's when I first played Million Monkeys, was that long ago. But
Fair enough.
But when I say that the series is mostly landlocked to Japan, I mean half the games I can't play because they didn't come out in my region. and the only way I can play them is if they're in Japanese and I can't read anything. Million Monkeys was not exactly easy to play when you can't read anything.
Surely there's a modded version where they've managed to translate everything.
BFA, how popular do you think this franchise is?
Popular enough.
I think there was someone trying to work on an English patch for like ROMs or emulators or whatever, but I don't know about it. Either way, you said that I have favoritism for Ape Escape, and while it is true, we have to keep in mind CTB did not use Ape Escape all that much, now did it?
I love how you don't even deny it.
Of course I'm not going to deny it. As I said, it's my favorite franchise. But even still, I did not use Ape Escape very much in CTB by comparison to the 16 actual franchises I was using. You know? Because they didn't fit the criteria of what I was trying to go for. Which was...
I mean, perhaps, but you did use Ape Escape quite a bit.
I did make jokes about Yumi and Monkey Pink, but even still, that paled by comparison to A, Marge jokes, and B, Coco Yes noises. And everyone's a critic. And even then, other franchises just got way more jokes than Ape Escape and CTB. Like, I'm pretty sure I made a fair amount of Final Fantasy jokes and references in, CTB. A lot of which involved Yuna with a machine gun.
Yuna with... Oh yeah, she did have that machine gun quite a few times, actually, didn't she?
I remember giving her a Gatling gun at one point, because of the fact that, sidetracking again. We're never gonna get through...
Yeah, you did say that Strength Yuna is the best Yuna.
There's a reason I said that, considering how the math behind how her summons work. Give her Yuna high strength, and her summons will do 99,000 damage. Seymour will not survive very long enough to banish them. Moving on. Yumi, not to be confused with Sayaka Maizono from Danganronpa. Her American title is Yumi, a 9-year-old girl who ran around with a monkey net to teleport monkeys back to the Aunt Aki's lab to have the special helmets removed. Also sings Happy Sensation in multiple languages and has a fan club. So the effort in Ape Escape's dubs is interesting because we did not need to have her own hit song Happy Sensation, nor did we really need Monkey Pink's songs either. And also, they're translated into like 6 different languages. So...
Yeah, just showed they tried.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, I firmly believe that Ape Escape has a lot of passion behind it. Even if it is so incredibly weird that a lot of people probably wouldn't get it.
I mean, we can sense the passion from it from you as well, and you're definitely... I don't think it's too rude to call you a little unhinged at times.
I was hoping you were going to say passionate, but unhinged works too.
Well, yeah, you're definitely passionate. No, we can't deny passion. But passion can also be often mistaken and the slippery slope into insanity.
I mean, that's not exactly wrong either. I mean, look at what I've done in CTV. I have basically made, over the course of 3 years, a giant crossover fanfiction in Hat in Time, almost entirely on my own. Like, not to discredit you guys and the voice actors and everything, but let's be honest here, I did the bulk of the work.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You did all the actual, like, programming, the game side, whereas all we did was talk.
Yeah. Like, spending so much time making these mods and everything, I don't think it's difficult. I don't think it's weird to call me crazy. Especially since, I made that as a Hat in Time mod that had basically nothing to do with Hat in Time. That is such a weird decision that does not make sense. Yeah?
It made sense in the context of, whatchamacallit, you made your last mod using Hat in Time, so you were just used to using it.
Yeah. Like, it makes sense from my logic, but to the logic of anyone else, it probably would have been more beneficial had I used a different software instead of making it a Hat in Time mod that has nothing to do with Hat in Time. Simply because it's not likely to actually get an audience if the audience for the game is not the target audience, by comparison.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those hard things. You need the medium to be able to make the game in the first place, and it can be hard figuring out what that can be at times.
Yep. Which is why the next project is going to be an RPG Maker. I have no idea how I'm going to get people to find the thing, though. It'll definitely be interesting dealing with that social hurdle when I get to it. Alright, moving on. Because we are sidetracking for the 500th time. Alright, Yumi worked alongside her fraternal twin, Kei. I don't know if you noticed, but Kei and Yumi are actually twins. They don't look or act anything alike. So they're called fraternal twins in the manual.
I mean, that is how fraternal twins work, so...
And Aunt Aki, to prevent the monkeys from taking over the world and splitting the world in half to make a home for you and Monkey separately, because Spectre says that's how physics works, and Sayaka's wrong that the planet will be destroyed and Spectre's completely saying shut up. Like, that was such a stupid plan by Spectre to the point that's like, why did you think that would work? What the heck made you think that smashing the planet with a rocket was going to split it in half and everything would be peachy? That's not how physics works, Spectre.
What?
Did I say something wrong? Should I repeat myself?
No, it's just the entire insanity of the entire, like... What?
Okay, so, context. He wanted to... It's called the Double Paradise Plan or Two Heavens Plan. Basically, he wanted to cut the planet in half with a rocket shaped like a hand in a karate chop position. And the plan was to have one half of the planet be for monkeys and the other half be for the humans so that they could fight over it or whatever, Spectre doesn't care. But Yumi and Kei are very quick to point out that that's not how that works. They're gonna smash the planet if they try that.
You know, this goes back to what we said earlier about not any more of this cartoon goofiness anymore.
Yay, cartoon goofiness. I mean, Kei and Yumi can't have buildings fall on them, and all it would do is mildly inconvenience them, so I wouldn't be that surprised. Moving on!
Anyway, moving on, yeah.
With Aki's help and gadgets, Yumi's a nearly indestructible powerhouse that can transform to whatever she needs for any given situation. Even without that, the gadgets she was given make her and Kei ridiculously strong, swift, and destructive, yet somehow never lethal. Yeah, no matter how much you swing that stun club, you're not killing the monkeys. If she uses Genie Dancer against most any opponent, they're already stuck dancing and lost. And I showed you that clip of stun lock Genie dancing.
Oh yeah, you did. That was
less than a week ago.
Yeah.
This girl can stun lock enemies with catchy music. That is ridiculously powerful.
It's even more ridiculous when you actually see it in action.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Alright, Toru Inoue. Ultimate Japanese mascot. This is the actual mascot for Sony's Japan division. Sony, people keep debating as to who Sony's mascot is, and they keep saying it's Crash or Spyro. It's like, it's Toro. It's always been Toro. Toro is the only correct answer. Because they are the only one that was actually officially given that status. Why are we still debating this?
It's because we don't see Toro anymore.
It's because we're Americans and British people, and we never saw Toro in the first place because they're landlocked to Japan. Toro is a PS1 game that we didn't get to see outside of Japan until Street Fighter X Tekken happened, where Toro was a guest character. Once that happened, then Toro started finally showing up outside of Japan. So, American viewers keep saying it's Crash Bandicoot who's the mascot, but me, who knows this information, is like, it's Toro that's the mascot. It's not Crash Bandicoot. And if Crash Bandicoot is the mascot of Sony, then please explain to me exactly why Wrath of Cortex went multi-platform.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. You don't really make your mascot go multi-platform, I suppose, do you?
Yeah. Like, why are we still debating this?
Also, to be fair, in this day and age, nearly everything is multi-platform, because eventually something's gonna make it multi-platform because of emulation.
Yeah, but you get what I mean. Especially at the time when that wasn't common.
Oh, at the time, yeah, sure. But nowadays, the best way to just treat games in general, to, like, avoid them getting, like, pirated and everything, is increase accessibility and affordability.
Yeah, because otherwise you just make people want to pirate it by making it as inaccessible and inaccessible as possible. All you do is piss people off and make them want to pirate it just so they can enjoy the thing without having to spend a medical bill's worth of money just to play it.
That's an American joke right there, but being British, of course I don't have to understand that.
I mean, you get what I mean.
But yeah, it's one of those...
I shouldn't have to pay a college tuition fee just to play a video game.
Yeah, it's...
And keep in mind, we are recording this shortly after Nintendo told us that they want to charge us $80 for a remaster. Like, no, we're not...
I'm sorry, is that the limit of what you've heard?
That's not the limit of what I've heard. I've heard worse, but even still, Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild have been out for how long now? And you're charging how much? No.
Have you not heard about them having full access to brick your system? Brick the Switch too?
I heard. Yeah. I'm not happy about that one either.
That's actually a lawsuit in Europe.
So Nintendo could get sued.
Yeah, they're not allowed to do that in Europe.
Someone should probably do something about that then, because, this is getting out of control.
Yeah, no, it's literally a case of, if in Europe, if they pay for the system, it is theirs to do with as they please. Nintendo does not have the right to brick the system.
Why are they intending to brick the systems in the first place anyway? Because I heard they can brick the system, but why do they have the capacity to do this? Why are they saying this? What's the reason?
Because they don't like people modding the system.
Well, then screw them.
It's literally a case of, if you mod it in any way, we're allowed. That's what they're saying.
Nintendo is just trying to make everyone mad. Like...
It's one of those awkward things of, it's a very, very different culture. And at this point, I also think that Nintendo is becoming very outdated in its mentality. Which is like,
it's been outdated for years now. We all know.
Yes, but that's what's sad to say, because originally they were like, the good people to go. And honestly, in many ways, they are.
No. They have been pissing us off for years now. They're just damn good at hiding it. I was a part of Nintendo's news and everything for like years now. I'm guessing this is news to you. So, them doing the shit that they're pulling right now, this has been going on for years now. It's just that this is the worst bit of it. They have always been overcharging for shit for no reason. They have always been irritating the fan base and trying to control them and tell them what they can and can't do. They have always had a stranglehold over their own property to the point that it irritates people who are trying to support them. They have always been old-fashioned to the point that it aggravates people. And their inability to adapt to the modern climate has constantly been their undoing, but now is reaching a breaking point. Sorry for laughing at you like that. That was probably patronizing.
Oh no! Go ahead. Go ahead. It's what we're here for. Go ahead. Do that. Do that sort of laugh.
I still feel like a dick.
You're not laughing at me. You're laughing at the entire subject. That's what it is.
Yeah, but still. Either way, yeah. Like, all the stuff that you're saying is stuff that me and a lot of other people have already kind of known, and I think I've already tried informing you about some of these things as well, like how they've been treating people who enjoy Smash Bros. Like, those guys have been getting screwed over for how long now, just because they want to play Smash Bros. Competitively, and Nintendo just keeps trying to like, drill them out of it over and over again, and all it just does is make them more mad.
Alright, in fairness, that's not Nintendo itself, but the actual creator of Smash Bros.
You mean Sakurai?
Yeah. That is more Sakurai than it is Nintendo. When it comes to, like, a lot of the tournaments, though, like, if you're actually talking about the proper hosting of tournaments, yeah, that's Nintendo, but...
That's kind of what I was talking about.
I thought you were more like the game being purposefully made to be made less and less competitive viable.
Yeah, I already know that Smash 4 and 5 was made purposely to not be like Melee. I was talking about, like, Melee tournaments and stuff, and how people who like that are constantly getting screwed over by Nintendo. In case I'm misremembering, wasn't Project M destroyed at some point? You know, that Brawl mod that made it more like Melee? Didn't Nintendo ruin that for everybody?
Probably.
So yeah, I think we all kind of already knew that Nintendo was horribly out of touch and just keeps irritating everybody. But now it's starting to reach a breaking point where everyone's just sick of it. Even some of Nintendo's biggest diehard fanboys can't take it much anymore.
In all fairness, it's getting to the point where everyone's sick of everything. Though.
That's also true.
Because it's not much different with any other company either.
I'm probably going to have to separate the bio section from the actual trial section just because it's us ranting for so long. I'm going to have to figure out.
Just record a separate disclaimer at the very beginning.
Yeah. Alright, so, back to Toro before we keep whining about Nintendo and its problems that have been around for way too long. We need to get to the voice acting. Ow. I'm talking too much. I need more social interaction.
I know that feeling.
Alright, on to the Sony cat, now that we're done talking about its rival Nintendo and whining about it. Right. Despite frequently showing up at the same time disasters occur, like when Tokyo was invaded by space monkeys and mutants, or when Toa City was being destroyed by Monokumas and being a talking cat, they're by far the most normal person here. Okay, so Toro makes a lot of cameos in a lot of different games. And, those cameos that were just mentioned was Toro is one of the few characters who actually was a part of a Danganronpa crossover. They showed up in Toa City right before the Nagisa boss fight. They were on the conveyor belt that was making Monokumas, alongside Kuro, the black cat that's in the second photo that you see right now in the gallery.
Fair enough.
And Tokyo being invaded by space monkeys and mutants, that's a Ape Escape Million Monkeys reference. Toro and the other Pokepi were all there for that event, and if you find them, you can actually summon them as special abilities.
Okay.
Actually, Toro also showed up in one of the Bomberman games. Bomberman R Online, I think. Super Bomberman R Online. They were one of the playable characters if you got the PlayStation version of the game. So Toro's been around the block when it comes to crossovers and cameos. Toro lives with their roommate Kuro and hangs out with friends Jun, Ricky, Pierre, and Suzuki now and then. Toro hopes to become human at some point. They've also appeared practically everywhere, making cameos in all sorts of places, not even including the news station they had going until March 28th of 2013, which I think was called either Mainichi Isio or the Weekly Toro Station, one or the other.
A talking cat, huh?
And I tend to treat these three as one big group because these three franchises have crossed over multiple times. I think I've already told you about Metal Gear Solid and Ape Escape crossing over on multiple occasions. So does Doko Deme Usio with the other two.
That's fair.
This is why, in Cutting the Branches, I had Toro, Sayaka, and Raiden all in one big group. And why they're also one big group here as well. Even in the courtroom, all three of them are standing right next to each other.
Ah, fair enough. Little details, isn't it?
Yay! They're one big, happy, screwed up Sony family. Sort of. Except Metal Gear isn't owned by Sony. Alright, moving on. Miku Hinasaki. Miku is from Fatal Frame. Her skills include strong ghost detecting sixth sense, photography, like Max Caulfield, but not nearly as boring, because she takes pictures of ghosts, and not birds. Unless it's a ghost bird. I don't think those exist in Fatal Frame, though.
You're not gonna let that go.
Life is Strange has problems, I'm sorry. It's not great.
I'm sorry, is Life is Strange going to become the Nakes Until Dawn?
It should have been by this point, honestly. If I wanted to, it should have been by this point, but I don't think it's going to become like that. Although, the fact that it advertises the butterfly effect to crap and back, and considering what I told you about the ending, and I did tell you about the ending to Life is Strange basically being choose one thing or the other, right? And know your decision prior matter. Yeah, I think I told you about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Life is Strange is really not that great. At best, it's pretty mediocre. Not great, but not terrible. With a lot of annoying moments, but enough intrigue to at least keep you going. And then you get to the ending and blah blah blah. Moving on, we need to talk about Miku. Alright. Skills. Strong ghost detecting sixth sense. Photography. Naturally strong exorcismal power compared to others. If I remember correctly, of the three playable characters of Fatal Frame 3, between Miku, her roommate Rei, and Mio's uncle Kei, I think Kei has the worst camera of the three and Miku has the strongest. If I remember correctly from what I researched, Miku has a higher exorcismal power with her camera by comparison to the other users in the same game.
Well, fair enough then.
Puzzle solving skills, extremely powerful camera, ghost killing glass cannon, yeah. So, Miku does a crap ton of damage, but it doesn't take much to hurt her. Camera Obscura can detect ghostly presence with its filament. Magical powers from a sauce. Oh no. Okay. Remember when I said that she was a monster in Monster Rancher 4?
Yes.
That's what that last one meant.
Mm-hmm.
Nearly died to 2 different curses. Has a strong sixth sense and can see supernatural spirits. Has a camera obscura at all times to capture and exorcise hostile spirits. Miku Hinasaki went into a haunted mansion, or 2, uncovering hidden secrets and solving puzzles, trying to save her older brother, who shared a strong ghost-detecting sixth sense. Fufuyu Hinasaki stayed behind to help Kyrie keep the gate leading to Hell locked, keeping the rest of the world safe, meaning Miku's rescue attempt ultimately failed. That is the canon ending to Fatal Frame 1. The non-canon ending is that he survives.
Fair enough, then.
I don't know why they went with that as the canon ending instead of the one that actually has a better outcome. Like, that's a bit of a weird decision. But it does...
Yeah, it's one of those, it feels like Fatal Frame is designed to be a tragedy kind of game.
Considering everything, that does make sense, and I wasn't super surprised. But even still, it was a little dissatisfying that Fufuyu dying at the end was canon. Because it's like, well, what was the point of going in and saving him if we didn't even save him? But I think major thing that softened the blow with that is the fact that the main plot of Fatal Frame being to save your brother is actually not really what makes Fatal Frame interesting. It's the lore of the area you're investigating trying to find him. Fatal Frame does a very good job of making the place you're looking through actually interesting. The Himuro Mansion from 1 and All Gods Village from 2 are very memorable locations because you're going through all these locations, seeing all the terrible tragedy that happened in it, and trying to figure out how the ritual works. And it winds up being a lot more memorable than the actual characters themselves. Like, for example, in the Himuro Mansion that Miku wound up running through, she has to figure out how the ritual to keep the gate to hell locked works. And it basically goes like this. So they start off with a game of hide and seek with a bunch of shrine maidens in training, a bunch of girls, and one of them is given a blinding mask where they can't see, and whoever they wind up finding, despite being blind because of the blinding mask, winds up being the next one to keep the gate to hell locked. That is now their duty. And once that person is chosen by this game, then they basically get locked off from the rest of the world, so that way they don't have any earthly desire keeping them bound to the living world, so that way they are able to fulfill their duty without having anything tying them down to life, so they can do the job with proper focus. It's really messed up and everything, but this is a horror game, so that's not really saying much.
Yeah.
And when I said about the blinding mask, I didn't specify. The blinding mask has giant spikes in it that gouge out the eyes. I left that part out. So this whole thing is...
So it's not a mask like a blindfold. No, it's literally, hey, you are permanently blind now.
Yeah, when Miku finds out about this, that's when a ghost whose eyes have been gouged out peers around the corner, asking where you are. Because tension. So,
okay.
The enemies are also a part of the world building, which helps make things memorable.
Honestly, it's a brilliant way to do world building, so...
Yeah. Which is why I say that Fatal Frame may not have the greatest story, but it has some pretty darn good world building. The Himuro Mansion and All Gods Village are very interesting. And the reason that the gate to the underworld wound up breaking and Kyrie failed to do her duty as the next shrine maiden to guard the gate was because at some point just before the ritual was supposed to happen that would have her keep the gate closed, she wound up meeting a boy, and she wound up getting a crush on him, and the priests found out too late that happened, and their intervention wasn't fast enough to prevent her from having an earthly desire to stay. So, when they went through with the ritual, it didn't work because she had a reason to be alive now. So, instead of becoming a spirit focused on fulfilling her duty, she wound up becoming a vengeful spirit because the things that she didn't experience, she now can't. So the ritual failed, and the entire immediate area became cursed as a result. With Chapter 6 of Trigger Hatty Havoc, I actually did want to have a Fatal Frame themed segment play out in the B-plot, similar to how we had Coco shooting at The Simpsons, and there was also supposed to be another segment there, an RPG segment, but because of exhaustion, those things didn't happen. But the reason I wanted to go forward with the Fatal Frame one was because, let's be honest, the concept of a evil ritual involving young ladies that goes horribly wrong and curses the immediate area, well, that is the basic plotline of both Subcon Forest and also every Fatal Frame game in existence.
Fair enough.
I mean, it's kind of what happened with Vanessa, you know? Where she went batwhoop crazy and the immediate area got cursed. If I remember my ye old lore correctly, Moonjumper was an entity in a book that persuaded her to go forward with a ritual so that way he could get a body. And that body involved the Prince character at the time. But something went horribly wrong and the immediate area got cursed. That's where I was going with the comparison point.
You know what? Fatal Frame seems like a series I might need to try and play one day.
If you do play it, personally, I'd recommend Fatal Frame 1 over Fatal Frame 2. People clamor for Fatal Frame 2, but honestly, if you suck at countering or don't have patience, it can be boring. Because Fatal Frame 1 feels more arcadey because you have to keep your camera focused on an enemy zigzagging around the room for as long as possible to charge up the camera. In Fatal Frame 2, you specifically have to counter an attack, and sometimes it takes forever for them to use an attack that you can counter in the first place. Fatal Frame 2 is just so damn slow if you ask me. I know a lot of people prefer it, but I prefer 1 because 1 doesn't take forever.
Fair enough.
Also, just the backtracking of All God's Village in 2, it sucks so much more than backtracking in the Hero Mansion. But that's just me. Either way, the Survivors Guild came back with the Manor of Sleep's curse, that is Fatal Frame 3, nearly killing her. Her best friend and roommate, Rei Kurosawa, was able to eliminate the curse, saving Miku's life. Even though she's a ghost-killing powerhouse, she can get curb stomped pretty easily if they hit her.
Best keep my distance from her.
Right. Tomaro Naegi from Danganronpa.
Hour 2 is still on the profiles.
Is it 2 hours by now?
It is 2 hours.
Good
Near
God.
enough.
Oh God, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to make this the bio section a separate video called Ryuka and Parafox Talk About Random Things.
The Parafox Ryuka first podcast while attempting to play video game.
Ryuka and Parafox talk about random things trying to play video games and gets distracted. We'll workshop the title later. Alright, Gamara Naegi, Ultimate Danganronpa Protagonist. Debut appearance, Danganronpa 1, though that was a very short appearance. Skills. She's a pro robot killer, has great aim, is surprisingly durable, has lots of ammo types, not too shabby at puzzle solving, can see ghosts but can't really do much about them, and is pretty ordinary otherwise. The true female protagonist of Danganronpa, fuck off Kaede, made her mark on Danganronpa in Danganronpa Ultra Despair Girls. Makoto Naegi's younger sister, armed to fight and kill any robot death machine that gets in her way. I just remembered, you remember that animation segment I showed you last time, when we went over the extra goodies of Trial 5 and Coco threw a piano at the Metal Gear unit?
Maybe?
Did you notice I had Kaede attached to that piano?
No. You're not a fan of poor Kaede, are you?
I wasn't at the time. I'm a bit more tolerant of her now, but I still really don't like what Danganronpa V3 did with her, since it was basically a massive case of false advertising.
Basically the same reason people hate Raiden.
No, it's the what happened with Raiden applies to Shuichi, not Kaede. What happened with Snake applies to Kaede, where people wanted to play as Snake, but didn't get them, so Raiden got all the flack. People wanted to play as Kaede, so Shuichi got all the flack. And Kaede is super popular. Kaede is popular despite having no relevance to anything. I'm sticking with my guns on that one.
That's fair, that's fair.
Right.
No, it's one of those, they tried a thing, and it's one of those, don't advertise something if that's not the case, you know?
Danganronpa really needs to stop trying to be as shocking as possible for the sake of shock value, because more often than not, it just winds up being very messed up, or causing problems, or just being dissatisfying, or various things.
I think at this point, Danganronpa is less of a whodunit mystery game, and more of just a drama.
To me,
Like a
Danganronpa...
soap opera.
To me...
It is a murder soap opera.
I'm not going to disagree with that, but I'm still going to say that, to me, Danganronpa is just kind of... It's annoying anime weeb shit. There's way too much of that. Like, I don't want to have to bring up Kodako again, and how effed up that was. I don't want to have to bring up how damn perverted this series is towards teenage girls. I'm tired of bringing that up. But it's true. And the series never lets up on that. And when it comes to Danganronpa and its inability to just take a chill pill and ask if this is necessary, it just... You know what I'm trying to say, even though I'm struggling to find the words. There is no reason for Danganronpa to be perving on these adolescent, and in Kodako's case, elementary girls. There's no reason for this. There is no reason for them to go so overboard with the despair shit that we have to have Makoto Naegi tell us someone had snoo-snoo with Junko's corpse. We don't need to know this. What is the point of saying this other than to shock us and disgust us? What is the point?
It's just Danganronpa.
It's annoying anime wave shit. Because I know other annoying anime wave shit does stuff like this too, with no regard for anything. It's like Danganronpa has a fetish that it cannot seem to placate or try and do anything about. And they are not subtle about it. I don't know how else to describe this. This is why I'm so hard on Danganronpa now, and why I don't really approve of it anymore, and why I tried staying away from it even when I was making CTB, and why I was making fun of it so much, because Danganronpa has a lot wrong with it. I'm sticking by that statement. It may have interesting concepts with its courtroom drama battle royale stuff, but oh my god, we do not need some of this stuff. Why? I'm guessing you don't have any response to that. Should I just continue?
Not really, yeah. Let's just continue on.
Yeah. I feel like I do have a point, though. Because, like, there's just so much wrong with everything I just said. And, like...
In all fairness, I think it's also... Is there even going to be another Danganronpa? Because wasn't the creator sick of it, which is why he made V3 as well? The way he did as well.
I hadn't heard about that, but if that's the case, then I'm not too hung up about there not being any more Danganronpa. The fan base does Danganronpa better because they actually make killing games not depraved. Like when I made CTB, it was not perverted, was it?
No. Not in the slightest.
Exactly. In fact, Octavian is meant to be a representation of the concept of restraint, specifically because Danganronpa does not know what that word means. Did I tell you about that before, by the way?
What, that it doesn't know the meaning of the word restraint?
No, that Octavian was meant to embody the concept of restraint.
I don't think you ever said that, but I can understand. I can see it in the character.
You can probably see it in the character design because he's covered head to toe in blue cloth, hiding his presence. But in order for something to embody restraint, it has to have something it's restraining against. And when it comes down to it, Octavian is the mod creator hanging out with all the other characters, and yet they're trying to stay away from them. They're not hitting on any of them, or trying to ship themselves with any of them, and they're not letting their fetishes get in the way of anything. Those are all very common problems that come with lack of restraint in things like fanfiction, and even series like Danganronpa. You know?
Yeah, I get that.
Octavian was meant to embody the ability to restrain oneself from indulging in this nonsense. And I think I succeeded in that. Either way.
On with the profiles. We'll get through them eventually.
I think the only one left after this is Monokuma.
Woo!
Right. Made her mark and... okay. Kamara lived a normal life up until she was kidnapped and her world crumbled to dust. After a year and a half, she was forced to fight for survival, constantly being hunted by killer robot bears. Armed with a hacking gun given to her by Byakuya Togami and assisted by Toko Fukawa, Komaru was able to face the toughest challenge a person could ever endure: disciplining random children. Komaru vowed to stay in Toa City until everything settled down, and Toko decided to stay by her side.
This isn't Toa City, though. Who's keeping order there if that was her job?
Monokuma. We're almost there. Skill, murder. No need to explain that one. Alright. Consistently the main antagonist of all Danganronpa, just about always being controlled by Junko, who died at the end of the first game but comes back anyway because Danganronpa just won't let her stay dead.
Can we even trust this thing to play by its own rules?
Absolutely not.
Well, that was a fast one to get through. That was faster than Sans, and I skipped Sans. Alright, context. I'm going to give you a summary of what you need to know here, since going through it with individual characters and at a more natural pace would take forever and bore you to death, and I'm not feeling like becoming the Black and Day for killing you with boredom. So because of inexplicable reasons involving the crapping up of the science chase continuum, most of these people being time travelers adding to that theory, all 16 of these weird people ended up stuck in this building with Monokuma. Let's be honest, it's a crossover plot. Nobody cares why all of them are here. So long as they're here, they're interacting, and there's tons of fan-appealing references. Komoro may not be experienced in it. Say that again.
Fair.
Komoro Naegi may not have experienced the killing game herself, but both her best friend and older brother have, so she's been informed and thus informed the others here about Hope's Peak. Coco Bandicoot has fixed up the air purifier to keep running so everyone doesn't suffocate from lack of oxygen and everybody dies. That makes collecting crop a lot harder. She also rewired the intercom screens to also function as televisions because Gex was going stir crazy. Gex is a TV addict, let's be honest.
Poor bastard.
Poor outdated reference, man. Anyways, Monokuma hesitantly allowed it since it wasn't hacked in the system for Escape or to attack them. Opinions on whether or not to just kill Monokuma or take the risk of being swarmed seem mixed. They all want to, but nobody here really knows each other very well, with exceptions but still, resulting in a large sum of them worrying that someone or most of them will die in the process. Almost everyone's looking for escape options. Alright. I hope this info helps this weird moment. Alright, we're
finally in.
We're finally at the investigation phase, at least. It only took 2 hours.
We're finally here. We can play the game at last.
Oh my god, that took so long. I thought Trial 5 would be the long one. Because that has 2 trials in it. It turns out I was wrong. I just really want to talk about other video games, apparently.
Rookie, don't jinx it. You might still be right knowing us.
Fair enough. Well, it took forever. Oh, text box you don't even know. Well, it took forever, but there's finally an investigation phase. I felt this time it was maybe necessary. Also,
well, everyone, welcome to episode 2 of this random ass recording of nonsense.
I don't know where I'll split it up. We'll see if I split it up here or at the trial proper. We'll see what happens. Also, if the room is pitch black, the lighting is being screwy, which is common in these trials. Yeah, you saw how that looked. Alright, to get the lighting. Alright, floor 1. With just Monica, and also these 2 outdated losers. Yeah, I can rest my throat now, finally.
Insert crown here.
I shall magical like the strange dialogue. Oh my god, that was cringy. Apparently, the studio that made Life is Strange is Don't Nod, and apparently Don't Nod is French. So I keep hearing from people who play Don't Nod's games that it's like a bunch of 30-year-old French people trying to write dialogue for teenage Americans. If that's the case, then I guess I can see why this turned out like this.
Fair enough.
Guess you guys are lucky Coco's here to hack the monitors in the school to act like TVs.
Thank goodness for her. I'd go insane here with no TV.
Alright, let's go over what we found in each room.
I found this, but I don't think it's related.
Pink medallion truth bullet added. This cute accessory was found in the sauna on the floor. It has an odd design underneath the plastic cover in the center. The thing from the center pointing to an end, the blue to green to yellow to orange to red marks, and the half-closed eye give it an inexplicable aura of importance. Looks like a radar based on this odd design. It made weird noises when they went to the gym.
The kitchen was a bust. I didn't see any knives that were missing or out of place.
What was that neon pink goop on them anyway?
Weird, whatever it is. It looked like paint. It smells like blood.
Do I make the joke?
Yeah.
Do I say the obvious joke? Skull suit. Named after the skeletal appearance and tightness of the suit, especially in combination with its O2 mask, was found in the dryer of the laundry room along with a pair of underwear and socks. Raiden wears this.
You're just gonna ignore the bloody knives?
Does Cadence bleed neon pink?
Good point.
Guess it was laundry day for someone.
This looks like a government sneaking suit. We can all figure out who wears this, right?
Should be pretty obvious. I mean, the truth bullet flat out says it.
Monica breaking the fourth wall again.
You discovered the body, right? Anything that might help us?
Monica's account. Katie Forrester was seen running from the music room where Keynes died with a look of shock on her face. Monica went in the music room alongside Hatty before the PDA went off, but decided to wait a little before going in. Someone's done research on how Danganronpa works.
Well, now that we're done with our side of the investigation, I've got plenty more one-liners to...
I'm changing the channel.
Alright. Alright, so... Yumi is in the boys' changing room. This is not the first time she's invaded the boys' room.
That's weird. The camera in this room is off. And how is this thing typing on its own? Also, what exactly is it typing?
Wait, why are you in here?
I'm investigating? What does it look like?
This is the changing room for men.
Yeah? So? It's not like you didn't have to defuse bombs in the girls' bathroom.
That's a reference to Metal Gear Solid 2. One of the bombs is in the girls' room.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but how can you just...
Raiden, it's just a changing room. Nobody cares.
It seems like I'm the only one that finds this awkward.
I feel like my art has gotten better in these things over time. Toro definitely looks better here than when we saw the bio screen.
As I say, it's one of those, you see the progress you make over time. It comes with practice. It's natural.
Even still.
Where? Also, what's the thing you found?
I forgot to read Toro's dialogue. Oh well, whatever. I'm not going back for that. Alright, hidden room in the bathroom.
Model communicator. It's outdated, but it can send out a distress signal.
Updated how?
Compare it to nanomachines.
I guess so? So who sent the signal?
Well, I can't really say for certain, but I don't think every last one of us is secretly a government agent.
Let's see. Government agents.
Did Sayaka find anything helpful?
Well, something's definitely weird about this room. See?
Second floor investigation truth bullet added. Second floor men's bathroom had has a hidden room behind the storage closet. The door was left open. How did they know about this room? Raiden discovered a con device hidden here during the investigation. It was used to send a call for help right before the murder happened. Whoever was here would not have enough time to get to the fourth floor to kill Cadence. Another discovery was an auto-typing laptop in the men's dressing room near the pool. For some reason, the camera in this room looked like it wasn't on.
Hey, so why was it not a good idea for me to search by myself at first?
Because if you're the culprit, you have a chance to destroy evidence. But Toro vouched for you, so you're clearly not the culprit.
Yeah, so Yumi wasn't trusted on her own at first until Toro vouched for her, giving her an alibi.
It makes sense.
I don't know why the text does this. I think it's because of the Japanese text. That's But I don't know why the Japanese text causes the English text to get weird like that. But either way, Sayaka and Toro were playing Metal Gear Solid. The Saru pun in the title was lost in translation. Yeah, so, in Ape Escape 3, one of the 3 minigames you get is Metal Gear Solid, where you play as a People Monkey version of Snake to go on a sneaking mission. Toro thinks this is the last room.
Guess there's not much more we can do to investigate.
I hope the mystery VR pays off.
I hope the mystery VR pays off. That was a string of missions in the PS1 VR game.
That was a PS1 VR game?
Okay, PS1 VR missions. It was basically similar to the VR missions from Metal Gear Solid 2. It wasn't VR like today VR with an Oculus. It was PS1 bonus mission content stuff where you kind of think like a ye old DLC type of thing.
Yeah, no, I get it.
What if something bad happens? What should we do?
Now, since the cameras are down, might be my only time to ask this. Did you use nano communication to call for help yet?
I'm trying, but everyone I call is busy.
Busy with what?
Well, to start, the colonel got abducted by aliens again.
I think that was just. I think that's one of those weird ass moments from Metal Gear Solid 2 where the Colonel tells you that he got abducted by aliens for no reason when the AI starts going haywire. And yet, with the context that we have, Ape Escape, which involves space monkeys all the time, getting abducted by aliens sounds plausible since these people all know each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Colonel Campbell got abducted by space monkeys. Editor's note, that's still less crazy than Metal Gear Superpower Freaks of the Week. Also, the concept of Roy Campbell being abducted by aliens was from the AI during Arsenal Gear and Metal Gear Solid 2 and the external case of Snaketail. I basically just took the idiocy and ran with it as far as I could, I guess.
Hey, it's a brilliant thing to do.
Alright, floor 3, the air purifier lab. I'm not modeling the entire room for one scene.
Seemed not good.
Yeah, 'cause we didn't find anything.
I guess the third floor didn't have anything weird. Except for those, but you said you need them, so...
Coco's inventions. She's working on multiple projects like a bazooka and the Banda Buggy. Both seem functional because they're not quite ready yet. Even though it was an investigation, she tries finishing them up.
Far part in the investigation. Do either of you mind if I keep working on them? That's weird, since the trial's going to start soon. But, okay. Shouldn't take too much longer. Alright, I'm gonna look over the rules again. Maybe they'll help us.
Class trial rules. These are the actual rules from actual Danganronpa, and I don't think most of them matter, so let's just skip that.
Fair enough.
And can we also address the motive?
Motive. I don't think this is important either.
Knowing these people, and your opinion of the motive half the time.
Most of the time, the motives just don't do anything. I mean, how are you supposed to convince a hero to commit violence against an innocent person? It's not like there's Sam from Sam and Max who had a very valid reason to shoot Gale in CTB.
And it's also not like they're a, anti-hero either as well.
Sam is... oh god. How would I even describe Sam's morality aside from roulette wheel?
Roulette wheel.
Okay. Monokuma kept throwing bows at everyone for a while, but nothing was working. The most recent one was one's own importance to the world, which seems to has also done nothing.
I think the motive will have anything to do with this, considering how many were thrown at us and how nobody cared at all.
I agree. Those motives are probably completely pointless.
So what do we do now?
You could help me finish these up.
No offense, but I'm not into weapons development at all.
I'm pretty far from being a tech genius.
Kamaru's kind of an idiot, let's be honest.
Alright then.
You want to hear some bad puns?
Sure. It'll help kill time.
I remember this pun. I made it myself.
I don't
Okay.
think a murder investigation is the best time for this.
What do you call a zombie sorcerer?
I don't know.
An abracadabra. Some more of that.
Yeah, that is actually a pretty good joke.
Editor's note, I came up with that joke myself, and I'm actually kind of proud of it.
Abracadabra. Yeah.
It sucks when people don't get it, because they don't know what a cadaver is. I've actually had that happen at least once or twice.
Ugh. To be fair, a cadaver isn't the most common term of word, but even still.
Yeah. Alright, so... 4th floor!
How's the investigation going?
You didn't have to stay here if you didn't want to, considering...
It's okay. It's weird, because I see yokai all over the time. I don't usually see dead bodies.
There's a difference between yokai and corpses. It's not weird to feel this way.
Yeah, that's right. Daniel can't communicate with anyone because he doesn't have a jaw, so no one knows what he's saying.
Well, let's start with
Oh, it's stuff like this, doesn't it?
That actually wasn't that far off.
Aha! I'm good at impressions, you see. Because I can do it by holding my hand over my mouth, and then putting on a weird voice, and then holding my nose at the same time. That really leads to making the weirdest of sounds.
I think
Aha!
you'd probably sound closer if you didn't hold your nose.
Alright, let's try that then. How about this?
Closer. Honestly, you'd probably sound closest if you just used your normal voice and put a bucket over your head. Because that's how Daniel's voice acting was done.
You're gonna say, isn't that how Daniel's voice acting was done?
Let's continue, because I'm having trouble understanding you now. Alright, Monokuma file. Alright, Cadence is dead in the music room. She was impaled, 3 stab wounds. No other notable injuries.
piano, which left very distinguishable marks.
Flash piano. The piano Monica played on often. Hatadult would often come here to sing Masked and request Monica to play the piano part of the song. The slash is cut right through, and it seems like it was done in a way to forcefully move the blades over the body and piano. Simple stabs don't leave marks like that.
Because Cadence is still warm. That means it happened recently, right? And maybe she was made to drink whatever was in that bottle?
Music room investigation. There was a near-empty bottle of red liquid near Cadence's body. The substance was unidentifiable. For some odd reason, her body was still warm, so it must have happened extremely recently. There wasn't much else of note besides that.
That about wraps up the investigation results.
Okay, so the red potion in Crypt of the Necrodancer. It is a extra life potion. Basically, it keeps you from dying if you run out of hearts.
Makes sense.
Daniel checks for a pulse. That's when he notices that she's alive.
She's dead.
I believe we should go over alibis next.
Daniel's account. Daniel's body got smacked to the ground between the kitchen and dorms. His head was in the vents at the time and was looking through that, but it still hurt a lot. Aside from that, he was able to see the third floor investigation team during the investigation.
Alright, so as for my actions today.
Alright, floor 5. We're almost at the trial.
We're almost there.
We're almost there. We just need to hang out with Hatadult, Miku, and Regina. I swear Regina did not break everything in this room. It was like that when they got there. I forgot about that line. You can't tell what's more awkward, the fact your group found no evidence or the fact the blood in this room is red. Because this room is straight from, it's a picture straight from Danganronpa. Why is the blood red?
Well, at least we can deduce that the 5th floor has nothing to do with this case. That said, I don't like the idea of being left in the dark about what happened. Trust is gonna be low and information will be a weapon. I just know that everyone will withhold it until they can use it like that.
That sounds about right.
So, you say you're from another planet, right? Not sure if I should be surprised anymore.
Was she in space before then?
No, dinosaurs in space would be a terrible idea.
Yes, it was.
It sure was.
Dino Crisis 3 was a mistake. Now the franchise is dead. The franchise is more dead than Daniel is.
What I mean would take a long time to explain.
We don't talk about Dino Crisis 3. Regina wasn't even in that game.
Maybe that's why it failed.
Because it didn't have the sexy lady in it.
No, because it didn't have the one-woman army.
I heard Capcom made a different game recently that involved dinosaurs, and I don't remember what it was called. And people kept comparing it to Dino Crisis. What was that called again? Capcom... Exoprimal, that was it. Exoprimal came out relatively recently, and everyone was asking, why are you making a dinosaur game? And where's Regina? We want Dino Crisis. I'm not sure if you've heard about Exoprimal.
I hadn't, no.
I hear it wasn't all that great. I heard it wasn't bad, but it wasn't all that great. Alright. You seem to know about that unstable time-altering signature you can feel nearby. Now maybe you have a chance to ask about it.
I'm afraid I don't know much about it.
Does she want to survive the scrap or not? You're from space, and Migo here is a Japanese schoolgirl. You don't think spilling the beans here will cause a governmental catastrophe of leaked secrets and other stuff you don't really care about.
Ryan's a lot more open, and he's a secret agent for the U.S. government. I suppose I have been more distant than normal recently with this going on. Third energy. It's a man-made time-altering energy.
What's it used for? It feels unwise to use it.
I don't recommend using it since it causes accidents pretty frequently.
Alright, so Hattadult, who is the Time Lord here, detected the third energy and knows that it's unstable and not wise to use. A notoriously unstable time-altering energy signature was detected nearby. So the reason third energy was even a plot point in Dino Crisis, the government wants to use it to make a weapon to basically teleport their enemies to a different time period just to get rid of them. That's what the government wants it for. And because of the fact that they're trying to abuse it, this crap keeps happening.
Wait. Like, are they sending them to the past or the future?
In the case of Dino Crisis 2, the future. In the case of Dino Crisis 1, they accidentally teleported the past to the present. So, yeah. So, yeah, they're trying to weaponize time travel, basically.
Okay.
I think Gale went over that in, CTV when I had him talk about it. I think Crash and Sam said that time travel weapons were lame, as a result.
Yeah, they did. They definitely did.
Alright. You're noticing Miku is holding something, but you can't see it. It's weird, her fingers are pressed against nothing.
Oh, you can't see this? No. Are you holding something?
I didn't feel like actually drawing Miku. It took too long as it was.
Yeah, but I've never seen this before. It has a button and a screen. It seems like a portable TV, and it says it's on a wiki. That's an iPad. They were invented about a month ago.
Because Regina is from the year... from... Doesn't she mean 10 years ago?
Right. It's 2020 right now.
Oh yeah. Meanwhile, Miku's from like 1970 or something.
Somewhere around there. Regina's from like 2010, I think, and Miku's from the 80s.
I can't figure out how to... How do I use an iPad?
Oh boy. The one person who finds a clue and has to be the girl from the 80s finding an invisible iPad.
I can't figure it out.
What were they looking up?
It was... It's an article about you, Regina. Me? It says that your promise was to someone named Dylan. That you need to save him from being trapped millions of years in the future. That's disturbingly accurate.
A ghost hand swipes the ghostly iPad away from Miku.
No, the iPad!
She dropped it, didn't she?
No, a ghost stole it.
A ghost?
I guess I technically stole it first since he dropped it and I picked it up, but how could someone have personal details like that on hand using an iPad? Nobody but me should have known about that promise.
The ghostly pad. Miku encountered the ghost during the investigation and wasn't immediately noticed. They seemed to be able to phase through solid surfaces, yet also pick things up as well, like other spirits. She took his picture for her spirit list progression, or at least tried to, and scared him away. So the thing, so one of the things that's a mechanic in Fatal Frame is that not every time that you take pictures of a ghost counts as an exorcism. Sometimes it's just you taking a picture of a ghost to get info on them, you know?
Yeah.
Those are the non-hostile spirits. He left behind strange... Grammar. He left
I was
behind...
gonna say, come on, you can do it.
grammatical problems. He left behind the strange device that can bring up any piece of information asked. After bringing it up, she was given weird looks for not knowing what an iPad was until they remembered she was from the 1980s. The ghost snatched it back while she wasn't looking. Could she describe the ghost?
Pale, round, have purplish hair, and wear a black suit.
You figured you wouldn't have a clue who that is.
This is an awkward situation. Do you think they're our enemy? You're asking us?
You're
If
asking.
we catch him on camera, I could show you what he looks like. But all I have are pictures of other ghosts.
Well,
To
on
the
to the trial.
Okay, we're finally through this crap.
Yep, we've seen the evidence. We don't need to read it again.
Yay! Now, if I remember correctly, the lighting has always been so awful, but now everyone actually kind of looks bright and colorful thanks to the lighting being the way that it is right now. Because I think when you played it, everything just looked really, really, really dark.
I'm not gonna lie, it's been so long I can't remember.
I'll probably send a picture later for comparison.
Yeah.